Professional wrestling. What a word, huh? As a longtime professional wrestling fan, I can definitely say that this business encompasses so much emotion from its fan base worldwide. Now, whether or not you hate this business or whether or not you love this business, there's one major constant to consider. Professional wrestling has been one of the biggest phenomenons throughout the world for quite some time. Now, there are several people who come into professional wrestling out of the family. They are grown into professional wrestling. They're born into the business. And then there are several people who are fans first, and then they become professional wrestling without having any family ties associated. And then there are people who simply fall into the cracks, and they come into the business through another profession or through a friend or whatnot. But regardless of all of those scenarios, there's several of those people who enter the business inspired to be number one in their profession. It's really no different from any other industry if you really think about it. Now, there are some people who succeed in that ultimate goal, and other people do not succeed in it. Maybe or may not be at fault of their own. However, it is reality. One of the great wrestlers of this modern generation who I believe did not get that opportunity to be the top dog in his profession was a guy by the name of Eddie Fatu, otherwise known as Umaga for most people. He was one of the really, really good talents in the modern era in the WWE, in my opinion. The post-WWF era. He had it all, in my opinion. He had the talent. He had the skills. He was one of the most agile big men to have ever laced the boots. I equate him to a guy like an early Yokozuna and an early Vader. Really, really talented guy. Unfortunately, Edward Fatu passed away in early December of 2009. And his memory does live on, and it will live on today on the Secluded Paradyme, as he will be featured as the ninth feature of the Secluded Paradyme. I am proud and I am honored to discuss Edward Fatu's career and some of my favorite matches here on the Secluded Paradyme number 9. Credits begin. What's going on, peeps and peepettes, and welcome to the Secluded Paradyme number 9, featuring the Samoan bulldozer, Umaga, otherwise known as Eddie Fatu, the late Eddie Fatu. I am Spec Son, a.k.a. Brightwave, here with you, and I will discuss a little bit of Eddie Fatu's career, and I definitely will touch upon some of my favorite moments involving the Umaga character in the WWE, which I thought were some really, really good times, and I think they're overlooked. They're going to be overlooked, I think, as history progresses because of Eddie's passing. But nevertheless, you know, Eddie Fatu, as I mentioned in the opening, he was a very, very unique wrestler for a big guy. You know, most big guys are not very agile. They're not very athletic. They don't really move around the ring like the traditional wrestler would. But Eddie Fatu was a little bit different. He kind of reminded me of a mixture between these three wrestlers. And I know there's three wrestlers that many people will say, well, that's a weird comparison, but I think it's really accurate when you talk about the skills that Eddie Fatu possessed. I'm talking about Vader. He had a lot of quickness like Vader, but he also blended in his power very well. You're talking about Yokozuna, of course, with the family background, the Anoa'i family background. Very, very reminiscent to Yokozuna in terms of early Yokozuna's ability in the ring to move around the ring. And, at least, Edward Fatu could keep the weight down a bit compared to a guy like Yokozuna, who eventually really gained a lot more weight, and as a result, his quickness decreased. But, I'm talking about Vader, talking about Yokozuna, and also Kamala the Uganda Giant, the way he came to the ring and the body paint and stuff. I mean, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Kamala with the wildness and stuff to his gimmick. But I think Umaga was a very, very unique character that I don't think the WWE did as much as they could with it. Now, there's been several reports that, Eddie Fatu had a lot of backstage issues in the WWE, whether it was, drug related or whether it had to do with something else. I'm not really that sure about. All of it is really speculation, and I don't think a lot of it has been proven factual. But nevertheless, he had a lot of issues supposedly with the WWE, and that probably contributed to the WWE either de-pushing his character, releasing him on multiple occasions, even before the Umaga gimmick when he was with 3-Minute Warning as Jamal with Rosie, which I thought was a splendid idea, by the way, in the WWE. I think 3-Minute Warning didn't even get enough television time, as I think they could have ran with that angle for the next 3 years. But as many of you know, the WWE really didn't invest in tag teams in that period of time, and they really haven't since. Only recently, around 2009, when they really started to care about the tag team division again. You had cats like Team Angle that was emerging. You had the Dudley Boys, who were still in play after Bubba Ray and Devon split up, and they eventually came back together. And of course, I can't forget to mention the Un-American angle and stuff with Lance Storm, Test, and Christian, and all this other stuff. So you had a lot of sporadic tag teams, Billy and Chuck and whatnot, around that time when 3-Minute Warning was coming in. But the WWE really wasn't investing that much into them long term. And as a result, you eventually had 3-Minute Warning release, not all of them released, but Jamal got released from the company, a.k.a. Eddie Fatu, due to a bar fight, I believe, that occurred around 2003. So, for a young guy, even though he had the Anoa'i family background with him, wasn't enough to secure his spot, even though you had some controversy right there. But eventually Eddie Fatu went to All Japan Pro Wrestling, had a really good career there, formed an alliance with guys like Justin Credible, and reformed the 3-Minute Warning concept, and a lot of that was really good. And he even had a small stint in TNA. So his career had a lot of ups and downs with it. After leaving the WWE, he had to pretty much restart all over again. And eventually the WWE, I think with the Anoa'i family background, was able to give him a little credibility and a little bit more stature in regards. And eventually the WWE re-signed him in 2006. And in 2006, I'm telling you, some really, really good stuff with the Umaga gimmick all comes to life. It was a modern day Yokozuna gimmick, really. Blended in, like I said, with Kamala and Vader. All of it really tied in together with the wildness. And it was really unique in why he was destroying guys left and right, building him up really, really big. And I like it when wrestling organizations do this, when they find this one guy, and WCW did it with Bill Goldberg, where they're just beating the hell out of competition, making them look extremely, extremely credible. And the WWE was really doing this. And of course, Umaga had Armando Alejandro Estrada as his manager. And speaking about that, this is where the WWE really pisses me off at times, is when you have guys who come in as managers who look really, really good in that role. And Estrada was a really good manager. And I will say this right now, he's one of the best managers that I've seen, along with Father James Mitchell, within the last 5-6 years of this business. In my opinion, I really think that. And the WWE really was taking advantage of it at the beginning. But then all of a sudden, when WrestleMania 23 came around, all of a sudden it was like, we don't need Estrada anymore. So Vince McMahon brings Umaga, and I'll get to this a little bit later, but Umaga just was not pushed right towards the end of his first run with the WWE.